the moon landing. A controversial topic. There have been many different moon hoax theories presented to society over the years, ever since NASA claims to have landed on the moon. I'm sure some of us are familiar with the whole idea that NASA never landed on the moon. So apparently, the moon hoax theory thing started off with a guy called Bill Kaysing, who wrote a book called We Never Went to the Moon. This was in 1974. However, I have a little beef to pick with Bill Kaysing. Some people call him the founding father of the moon hoax theory. But I grew up in the Hare Krishna Society in ISKCON, and our founding father says something a little different.
I am the only man in the world challenging that we have not gone to the moon planet.
That's right. Prabhupada says that he was the only one. So this Bill Kaysing, whatever, was obviously just mooching off of Prabhupada's theories. And then there were a whole bunch of other people, like this guy called Ralph Renee, I don't really know how to pronounce that, and some other guy called David Percy. But all of these men were clearly just plagiarizing Prabhupada's ideas, just trying to steal a little bit of his thunder. And that's not cool. So all these guys produced this evidence of why the moon landing was a hoax. Like, everybody pretty much knows the whole idea of how it was filmed in Arizona and NASA was just trying to win the space race against Russia. And there are all these reasons that they have, like how the flag is fluttering when there's no wind on the moon. But that's been debunked. And then there was also these complaints that, if they're on the moon, how come there aren't pictures of Earth? And then they realized, there are pictures of Earth. So all of these guys who were proposing all of this evidence were clearly just dummies, because all of their evidence was debunked. And actually, I'm going to include a whole bunch of links on the description of my video so you can see how these guys were amateurs compared to Srila Prabhupada. See, Prabhupada, he had a whole other level of evidence, and he had a whole different way of looking at the moon landing hoax. And he was supported by the Bhagavad Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Puranas, and the Vedas. And so his evidence is unquestionable. Let me give you some examples of that. See, first of all, Prabhupada was the first to say that they would never land on the moon. In 1968, Prabhupada had an interview with an LA Times reporter about the moon trip. Prabhupada was convinced that it was going to be a waste of time. If you want to listen to this entire interview, which I absolutely urge you to do because it's just so important, I will provide a link in the description below. But I'm going to show you some clips so that you can understand what his attitude was even before the moon landing.
You had said that man would not be able to land on the moon because of, now these are his words, because of spiritual beings there, or there would be an impossibility or something along that line. I was wondering if you could elaborate on that or explain what you meant.
You are particularly interested with that subject matter?
Yes, I told Dan that was what I was interested in. I have background information on the movement, for instance, and yourself.
Yes, so far the movement is concerned, it has nothing to do with the moon planetary journey. It has nothing to do. But in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the authoritative Vedic scripture which we generally follow, in that scripture there is statement that for promoting oneself to the moon planet, one has to accustom himself to the different kind of worshipping process. Just like in the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that Janti Deva Vrata Devan, those who are worshippers of the demigods, they are promoted to different planets of the particular demigods. It is also stated that if somebody goes to the moon planet, he gets duration of life, very, very long period. Just like we are living here at most 100 years. But they can live there 10,000 years. Do you follow? Just like different forms of body have got different duration of life. A dog lives for 6 years, or a cow lives for 20 years. A man lives for 100 years. Similarly, the residents of moon planet, they live for a very, very long time, about 10,000s of years.
The residents of the moon live for a long time,
yeah.
Thousands of years?
Thousands of years.
Are you talking about...
These information we get from Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam, this book, I have rendered into English.
Which book is this?
Srimad Bhagavatam.
Now was this a book which you wrote or translated? Or
You translated and commented.
Translations and comments?
Yes.
Now,
I published this book.
Were you referring to this book when you meant that, when you said residents of the moon, you mean people that go there to live or that are...
There are already, in every planet there are living entities,
and
residents.
And this is written in this book?
Yes, Srimad Bhagavatam. There are innumerable planets within this universe, and all of them are described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. The sun planet, the moon planet, and other planets, they are all vividly described. What kind of residents there are, their mode of living, everything is there.
Now, Dan Donnelly said that you said that if people try to land on the moon, they would not be able to. Can you explain what you meant by that?
Yes, it is very common sense. Suppose if somebody wants to land on your country, America, you do not allow. There are so many restrictions, visas, passport, and immigration. And how do you expect to land there, all of a sudden there? They are so intelligent, and though their duration life so long, they are far advanced in knowledge, everything they are advanced. So you cannot expect in that way to land there. This is common sense. Besides that, the scientists also agree that the temperature there is 200 degrees below zero. So how you can expect to land there and live there?
See, first of all, Prabhupada wasn't concerned with the moon landing, but then because of this interview, he had to talk a little bit about it. Prabhupada was certain they would never go, because the moon is a celestial planet that is the abode of a demigod. So they can't just go in. Like, you can't just go to America or another country and not have a visa. You obviously have to have some kind of qualification. So, like Prabhupada said, nobody can just go. Moreover, you would have to have the right kind of body that could withstand the conditions on the moon. It's not like a human being can just go there.
Everything is different. You require a different type of body to live there, to go there. Just like if you want to live within the water, this body will not be suitable. But the fish, it has got a type of body, they live very peacefully. Similarly, the residents of moon planet, they are meant for living there. You cannot go and live there abruptly. That is not possible. If you want to construct a city like New York in the ocean, is it possible?
No, but what if they wanted, they have resided in the ocean or on the ocean?
Anywhere, in the ocean or on the ocean, you cannot build up a city like Los Angeles and New York. That is impossible. So even in your presence, in different atmosphere, you cannot go and live. So similarly, the moon planet is completely different atmosphere. How you can live and go?
But of course they're not going there to build a city, but they're only going there to take some rock samples and do some experiments and then leave.
That may be possible. Just like you go in the ocean and live for some time and come back. But you cannot make any permanent settlement there. But that also I am doubtful whether you can land and take some, I would say, earth or water from there. That is also very difficult. So far our literature goes, our information goes, it is not possible.
Do you think that the, say, astronauts that would land on the moon, do you think they would encounter any difficulty in going about and doing what they wanted to and then leaving?
The first thing is that according to our knowledge from the Vedic literature, they cannot go there.
But you admitted that it may be possible for them to go there for a short time and leave.
That I am taking this example just like we go for a short time on the sea, but we cannot make any permanent settlement there.
Yeah. But according to the Vedic literature,
yes,
they cannot.
In this body we cannot go there. With this body we cannot go there. We shall have to change this body. Either you do it scientifically or spiritually or by any other method. With this body, you cannot go there. You have to prepare a similar body which is suitable for living condition there.
Would a spacesuit substitute for that?
Space?
In other words, the spacesuits that the astronauts wear.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Space suits are...
I'm a little confused because I can't tell whether you feel that based on Vedic literature that you said it may be possible for them to land and to return for a short visit.
Provided...
And yet you say that they cannot go with the body.
Yes, I say also this, that to land there, you must have this specific body suitable for that place.
To land there, you must have
the specific body.
I didn't get that.
Specific body.
Now, that specific body, if you are able to make by your modern science, then it may be possible. But you have to change your body to that specific condition. But the space dress which is now being used, that is not useful.
The space uniform.
Space uniform, that is not adequate.
So Prabhupada was certain that NASA's spacesuits would not get people on the moon. Therefore, they couldn't have gone to the moon. Duh!
What are the stars exactly? They're other planets, or?
They're planets.
Are they self-illuminating? Are they self-illuminating like the moon?
Yes. That is stated in Bhagavad Gita. Nakshatrana.
Luminaries and the moon. Yes.
That's right. The moon is self-illuminating, not illuminated by the sun. Prabhupada said.
They actually have never got to the moon, Prabhupada.
He says, did they ever actually get to the moon or not?
That I am doubt. Always. They might have gone. Most probably they have not simply propaganda. But even they have gone, not to maybe the Rahu planet, or there are so many other planets.
Is that Rahu planet closer than the moon to the Earth?
The Rahu planet orbit is in between moon and sun. So when it comes in between moon and sun, there is an eclipse.
In between moon and sun.
At night it is eclipse of the moon, and daytime it is eclipse of the sun.
You just heard him say it. They might have gone, but probably not. And then he goes to say that they probably went to the Rahu planet. A lot of people don't even know what the Rahu planet is because they're like super ignorant. Now in Vedic astrology, Rahu is supposed to be the ascending node of the moon, but they're obviously wrong because Prabhupada says that Rahu is a planet because if the astronauts landed on it, then it has to be a planet, right? The Rahu planet is in between the moon and the sun, so even though it's farther away than the moon, the astronauts could have landed on it. Therefore, like Prabhupada said, they didn't land on the moon, they landed on Rahu, which is probably easier to land on. I mean, because he said so. You know? Yeah. Now this other conversation that Prabhupada has, this is after NASA claims to have landed on the moon, and so Prabhupada and his disciples are talking about the possibility of NASA landing on Mars.
Now they're putting out the same kind of propaganda about Mars that formerly they were putting out about the moon, that there may be life, so that they can use that as an excuse to go. I just read a little bit where they say that due to information sent back by the last spaceship that they sent to Mars, now they think that there's more water vapor in the atmosphere than they at first thought. So that means that there's a good possibility that there may be some bacterial life on Mars. So they don't, and then they state that the temperature ranges from minus 130 to plus 40 degrees Fahrenheit. So that means that there could be life there in bacteria form.
And why there is no life in moon planet? Some scientists say that the temperature is 200 degrees less than the zero.
Yeah, at night when they said there's no atmosphere.
But why these rascals say it is full of dust? And how from the dust so much light is coming, illuminating the whole universe?
That's right.
What is their logic? They have already bought the dust. That dust does not illuminate.
Well, they say just like when the sunlight hits the Earth, then the Earth appears very bright from outer space. It appears very illuminating.
Who says?
This is the scientist's
They
excuse.
showed some pictures.
They showed some pictures taken from outer space that shows the Earth glowing very brightly, like the moon. So they say in the same way when the.
So why the glow of the the surface of the glow of Earth does not illuminate?
Well,
but it does not come the illumination.
Well, just like when the sun is here, everything is bright.
That's all light. When the sun is there.
That's interesting.
Huh?
The moon is actually illuminating.
Yeah, why does not illuminate?
Well, they only say it reflects the moon sunlight.
But keep that face of the truth. That is the only way.
So Prabhupada says that the scientists say that the moon is full of dust, but dust doesn't illuminate. But since the Shastras say that the moon is self-illuminating, so obviously it doesn't make any sense at all what the scientists say about what's on the moon. These scientists are all liars. Like Prabhupada said, they're rascals. And, like he said, we should kick their faces with a shoe, because that's what they deserve. We should treat these idiots with violence. Violence is good.
The other argument that you use about how the moon rays give life to the vegetables. So how is it that there's no life on the moon? If the rays from the moon give life, then how is it there's no life where the rays come from?
You see, actually, in the sand, things are coming out, and one rascal will say, no, there is no life, we have to believe it. Even it is full of sand and dust. Here we see dust and sand produce life. So why should I believe these rascals are doing that sand? What is the difference between that sand and this sand?
Another argument against the whole moon landing thing is that in the Shastras it says that the moon is the source of vegetation here on Earth. Therefore, like Prabhupada says, how come it doesn't have any vegetation? Clearly they didn't land on the moon. Logic. See, you can see sand producing flowers here on Earth. How come the moon sand can't produce flowers, huh? Figure that one out, scientists. Like Prabhupada said, sand is sand. Sand here is the exact same as sand up on the moon or on Mars. It's got to be the same because he said so.
Some scientists admit there is life. There may be life.
No, these scientists are all rascals, first of all. Don't believe. Some scientists say that who is real scientist? These scientists say there is no life. Another scientist in there maybe. Then who is right?
Prabhupada makes a really good point here about how the scientists only speculate and mislead people. They do not observe, they do not experiment, they do not think, they just speculate. And then they present this bullshit to people and we're just supposed to believe it. No. The real truth is in the Shastras. Prabhupada said that it's in a book and we have to believe that book because that is the truth.
This morning, last night also, I got hint from Bhagavatam. I told you in the morning. Sun planet is first.
Yes.
And nobody can reply this. So why Sunday first?
That's
Nobody has replied this point. It's Sunday, Monday, first of all Sunday, then Monday. Why not Monday, Sunday? That is, according to the planetary arrangement, the Saturn is the last planet. That is admitted in the Bhagavatam. So, Sun is first, then Moon, then Mars, then Jupiter, then like that. Last, Saturn. That is everywhere. So, why the modern science is changing? The Monday first, or Moon first, Sun second. What is your reply? You sometimes support them.
Well, just for argument, because I'm always getting arguments, so I want to know how to give the right answer.
That's right. What is your argument in this kind
Well, just because Sunday comes before Monday, that's an interpretation to say, therefore, the sun is nearer than the moon. Sunday may be the first day of the week, and then Monday, but that doesn't mean the sun is closer than the moon. Just because Sunday is the first day of the week.
No, why this arrangement? There must be some arrangement in the planetary system. It's like first, second, third, fourth, fifth, like that. Therefore, Sunday is first. Not whimsically. Suppose there is a system, first, second, third, fourth. So according to that, the dates are there. Not whimsically, first one being Saturn, or first one being Jupiter, not like that. You cannot do that.
That's right. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Not Monday, Sunday. Come on, logic. The days of the week are organized exactly the same as the planets. This is the most intelligent way of figuring out how things work. You just have to put the days of the week that correspond with the planets, and that's how we know that the sun is closer to Earth than the moon. Like, duh! So, arguments that the moon landing was a hoax by Prabhupada. Number 1, the moon is further away from Earth than the sun, so they couldn't have gone there. Number 2, they don't have the right bodies to go in there. Like, no spacesuit on Earth could possibly go to the moon, which is a celestial planet, okay? Number 3, the moon has vegetation. They didn't find vegetation there, therefore they didn't go to the moon. Number 4, they probably went to a hellish planet like Rahu. Only makes sense. Because even though we can see the moon in the night sky and it looks close, it's not. And even though we can't see Rahu and we've never seen Rahu and scientists have never observed Rahu, obviously that's the only planet that they could have gone to because Prabhupada said so, okay? Number 5, the moon is self-illuminating. It does not reflect sunlight, okay? Because that's just the way it is because of the Shastras that they say so. Okay, so they couldn't have gone to the moon. It would have been super bright. And Prabhupada says that all of the planets, including the moon planet, have living entities on them. Since the astronauts claim to not have seen any living entities when they went to the moon, obviously they didn't go. And, most importantly, in a room conversation in Sydney on the 1st of April 1972, Prabhupada said, "So they never worshipped Chandra, and how can they go to the Chandra planet, or moon planet? Then Krishna is false. Krishna is imperfect. They become perfect. They are defying Krishna's instruction. They have gone to moon planet. Then our whole propaganda, Krishna consciousness, becomes bogus. Therefore I always protest." That's the most important reason why they couldn't have gone to the moon planet. Because if they did, then all of the Hare Krishna propaganda is bogus. That means Krishna is not real. He is false. Therefore, we must all accept that they never went to the moon, and we never ever will.